Well, I just said I'll let nobody hurt me. So we're back. It's another Saturday. It's the Watchdogs in Our Black Media. I am Robert Bryant, and we also have with us, as always.
The radical.
Oh, okay, that's the name we're going with. Okay, I'm all with
I'm
it.
gonna
I'm
stick
all
to it.
with it.
It was given to me by somebody who, let's just say,
My
y'all find out. Y'all just stay tuned. Y'all find out a later date.
my God, today. My God, today. It's almost Easter Day. Hallelujah. He is arisen. All right. So, y'all, we're going to take a little different approach. We took some time off to reevaluate. And as always, strawberry is the best flavor of the month, but sometimes you want chocolate and vanilla. So, we're going to split it up so you get all three. So, what we're going to start doing is looking at topics at a national level, at more regional level, so more of like your Southeast region, and a local level. And
Oh, do you froze?
and my Wi-Fi is acting crazy. So local meaning the state of Georgia. But tonight, let's begin by talking about America's Black community and kind of what's going on, the climate, what we're facing, what's in front of us. Hold tight. Let me figure out what's going on. Hold tight, y'all. I got some things going on, and that shouldn't have been playing. But all right, we're gonna play our first clip, and then we're gonna kind of kick our discussion off. Where are we? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right, let's stay tight. Let's hold tight. Let's make sure everything is showing. And here we go. We're gonna kick it off tonight with this clip here.
Did you feel that you were deprived, that you and your family and other blacks were second-class citizens?
Did we feel it? We knew it. Not only second class, but about add up all the nationalities you have on earth, and then they come first. Like right now, you can come to my town and you're more free in America than I am. Even Chinese, the Japanese that the black people helped America to fight, or even the Germans. A day after the war in Vietnam, the Viet Cong will be more of a citizen than the American Negro. So, like, we might be the 50th class citizens, 60th class if you really break it down. Second, if we was just second class, it'd be all right.
Did you
All right, what's your reaction to that? I don't think much has changed, and we know Muhammad Ali in his prime, that was some years ago. I'm willing to say, well over 20, 30 years ago, but has much changed?
And honestly, the answer to that is no. I can remember in recent years that I was watching a video of not about Africans and how when they came to from Africa to America, how they were taken to black communities and they were showed African Americans, and they would saw that we were classified as the lowest of the low. They call us ghetto. We are the problem. We're this, that, and the third. They also, the one thing that they taught them that they would never teach us is how to economize and make a profit off of the black dollar.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know we've been treated like second class citizens. We are, how do I want to put this? We are a reminder of the past that they continuously try to bury, delete. But when you see these people here, we can't erase America's history. We were the foundation of this country. As most people fail to realize, is that the wealth of this country came from the backs of free labor off of our ancestors. We got to remember the world, and back in the 1800s, you're going to say the 1800s, America was known as King Cotton. We supplied the cotton to all over the world. The Queen of England, Queen Victoria herself, supplied the South with funds to keep the Civil War going, with hopes that they would win, because they did not want the North they did not want the Union to reconvene. They wanted the United States to separate so that the cotton supply would continue and the free labor would continue. Even though we realized that on Juneteenth slavery was supposed to end, it didn't. Slavery actually extended into the 1960s, I want to say. Just most people don't realize that.
Well, I think slavery still exists. It's just a different name. I mean, one of the things that I cringe at sometimes is when you look at the Columbine and how hey, here's a good buck here that can perform for you. And I find that problematic in itself. And the fact that if I can perform on that field where you were recruiting me for, why do I now have to go into this space where now I have to prove to you yet again? And that's another problem in our community, where we have to be out there and prove ourselves to be, quote unquote, seen as worthy to perform in the spaces which we've already proven that we can conduct in a better manner than the other people. So that in itself is kind of weird to me. And then the whole idea of, you have jails and prisons used to keep that idea of free labor going. And so what better way than to get free labor than to incarcerate black men on crazy charges? And we're going to talk a little bit about that later, on crazy charges. And you have institutions like Clemson University built on the back of free and slave labor. And so what has really changed is the fact that you let a few of us get a book, or a few of us had to go take a book and take our liberties and take them things. And then you have certain folks that are upset about that. And so we're not saying that all people are bad, good, or indifferent. What I'm saying is that there's still a system that we're operating in that was never designed for us. And then when people see us pushing back or grabbing the things that we need to be considered equal, then they get upset.
I mean, you are absolutely right when you say that, because I remember, and this is something of a story that I was just talking to African American that's surprising, at a school in Savannah. I'm not gonna say which school. Talking to one of the teachers, and she actually teaches the African American studies as an AP course. And I was talking to her about the fact that while I was in undergrad, my first course that I took in it, my first one semester, it was about maybe like 15 us in the class, and out of the 15, there might have been 7. It was still more white people than it was black people. And in my second course, I was the only, it was like maybe 12 us in there. I was the only black student to take that course. And and it didn't surprise me, because we don't want to learn about us, which is, like they say, when we don't learn from history, history is doomed to repeat itself. But you're absolutely right. But a core part of that course was, like you said, slavery never ended. It's just like the story. Slavery never ends, and there's actually a movie about it. Everybody should actually watch that. Everybody should actually watch that documentary. Watch the documentary, because it states slavery never ended. Just change the names. You're right. The prison industrial complex is where we are today. Because it made me want something. Somebody brought up a statistic not too long ago. There are 41 million African Americans in the United States. We only make up about 12% we only make up about 13 to 14% of the population. And we've been 13 to 14% for God knows how long of the population. That means we're growing. That means the race is might be growing, but in the same aspect, everything else, the other races around us have grown exponentially. Which it makes me wonder, most people might say this, if all 41 million were out and able to vote, this, that, and the other percentage that could vote, what would have happened back on that fateful day on the 5th of November?
Yeah, and that even bothers me there. I am of the and I am a Democrat subscribing person. I align with some of the ideas, but I also have an issue where there's such a strong allegiance to either party. There are certain things I don't like that the Democrats do. There are certain things I cringe at that the Republicans do and say out loud and feel comfortable doing it. At the same time, what I struggle with is that you have people that are in office that align with any party all the way to the end, even though it's at the detriment of their own people. And then I have to cringe at individuals who are in office that do absolutely nothing but hold up a title, don't understand how to push legislation, and better yet, will sell out their own communities, which we'll talk about in a little bit, that will sell out their communities only to thrive for themselves. Which means the fact that we are only damaging ourselves, because guess what? If I'm sitting here eating and you're hungry, how is that benefiting the community? Which I'm saying in, for example, I'll use Atlanta. I always use Atlanta as an example. When Maynard and Andrew and all of them got around the table and they realized that that airport was the economic key to that city, and it thrived off of that airport, and then they started building. Well, where did they go? They went to people that looked like them to help build the city. Now, why is that important? Well, we all know that people that don't look like us, our clear brothers and sisters, have had an advantage over us for 400 years. So why is it not okay for us to have black judges, Black contractors, Black construction workers that can now sit at the table and have a piece of the pie. No, that becomes problematic. And I want our people who are in leadership to understand that it is okay to give your people a space at the table and a piece of the pie. Because for over years, we haven't even had a chance to add an ingredient or to even have a cushion on our seat. So I just get confused about that sometimes.
I'm gonna say it like this: the one thing I agree that the people should be helped. They deserve help. But then I also have to come to this realization that everybody don't deserve help and everybody don't want help. I hate to admit it, but and I wonder, like, I'm saying, use us for example. We have this notion that we strive to be greater, not just by the year, but we strive to be greater day by day. But then you look at these people who they have been living in the same system and the same impoverished system for so long that they realize they don't want to step outside of their system, because if they step outside of that system, that means now they have to change their whole dynamic and their world changes. They would rather live in squalor than to advance themselves, because now they rather have cheap living with poor conditions and have money in their pocket and live like that. And this dude here, they'll wait for a little chunk of change, something to come their way, and then they are absolutely okay with it. And I may have an issue with it, you may have an issue with it, but in the same aspect, they are actually complacent with the system. But what they fail to realize is that later on down the road, now you have damaged the area where you're at, and now you have, well, I'm gonna say damaged it.
Maybe take it for granted.
They take it for granted because they don't keep it up. They don't maintain it. So what happens is they let them do it, because we already know that certain neighborhoods gonna get more funds to keep their streets paved, and the water sewage to keep the water system, like the water from draining into up to the front, to keep the water from out their front yard when it rains heavy, especially in this city. Because everybody who lives in this city knows when it rains here, it floods. Right. God forbid it is high tide in this city, it is definitely going to flood.
And to your point, there's some of that is by design. And for what I mean by that, I'll never forget, and I'm in a pretty decent, affluent, middle class neighborhood, and there was at one time a patch of land that would flood and it created a lake. Well, what happened? 516, a highway many years ago, which they do in Black communities, they'll build a highway right through the middle of the neighborhood. And it can be middle class, low class neighborhoods, whatever. But a lot of that is by design. And so they take the dirt, they build that area. They never come back and look at the infrastructure. So now we have a flooding problem. But you don't see that in certain affluent neighborhoods. You don't see that on the islands. You see resources. You see ways out. And so to your point, I do think, and I'm not blaming any organization, but there was at one time civic and faith organizations that stood up and advocated, and now we don't have a lot of that. You have neighborhood associations to a certain degree, and you have certain people who are concerned and live in those conditions, but you don't have the voices that have a platform to move these things forward like we did back in the day. You don't have that like we used to. And so I find that to be problematic when you put the same people who are in these dire situations in the same boat to advocate, and they don't necessarily have the same platform.
You're absolutely right, but you also got to remember we don't have the leadership like we used to have. That leadership that I ain't even gonna say our parents. I'm gonna say I grew up with probably your parents, but our grandparents and back in that day, they had the drive to want to go out here and make things, because we automatically knew nothing was gonna get better by sitting back and watching. Because as long as you sit back and be complacent with what's going on, it's going to continue. Reason why I've chosen the name the Rally, because baby, the one thing, and like in the word, like I tell everybody, in the words of John Lewis, ain't nothing wrong with getting in a little good trouble. Sometimes you got to go out here and make a little noise to get things, and shake a little tree branch to get things done. It's always, but you also got to realize that people don't lead. People they don't lead, and I'm not gonna lie, they just don't lead no more like they should.
No,
the younger generation. I'm gonna say like this.
Yeah, they get in the seat and keep it warm and get scary. And if you're in a seat and you scared to open your mouth and legislate and get out the seat, I think Nicki Minaj said it best. Get off the pot.
Money. They get in these seats, and then they start getting money donated to them, and then they start doing crazy. They start doing crazy work with the money, and then they don't want to give up the power. People get the one thing I realized about people is some people get a hold. Well, some people get a hold of power when they lose their mind. It's a statement, especially when it comes to us. Can't give us clipboard in the radio because we lose our mind.
Well, y'all, we're gonna take a break and we'll be back, and we're gonna hop into our regional topic, and it's one you don't want to miss. So hold tight.
Hello, world. We're here, serving Savannah, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Brooklyn, Houston, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and the world. The best music all the time. The greatest songs ever made, every time. Tune in to Hot 2100 Savannah and get a taste for your ears. Hot 2100 Savannah, serving Savannah and the world.
I'd be damned if it's me.
Need your garments cleaned with care and with a professional touch? Then bring them to One Price Cleaners in Garden City at the Old Farmers Market on Highway 80. Service you can count on.
All right, so as we shift our attention, we all know about the young brother Carmelo Anthony and the situation that we have in Texas. So as we enter that space in that conversation, let me begin with Bishop Jamal Bryant, because I think this is a sentiment that some folks have forgotten about the Black community. Oh, let me unmute him, y'all. Let's try that again.
I want to preach today using as a subject, we ain't ever scared. Look at the person beside, tell they done picked the wrong one this time. Look them in the eye, tell them we ain't ever scared. Only new birth, y'all. Look at the person beside you. Tell them never scared, never scared.
So, I don't know if are you familiar with the case over at Texas? What's going on?
I want you to know it was crazy work. Some new work, some new stuff came out today, but I'm kind of familiar with it, but I've been keeping up with it because it's so popularized. But we all know Carmelo Anthony, he was a high school student, track meet, wound up stabbing his counterpart who was there. They may, of course, per usual, they made him out to be the aggressor of the situation. and he wound up going to jail for they trying to book him for murder. When he wound up with $1 million bond, Thank God for my black sisters in the court system, because she lowered that man's bond to $250,000, and that man is out today. Thank you, Lord.
That's it. So we're gonna play a few clips and then we're gonna talk about it. But I will say on the record, I want everybody. I don't know if the GoFundMe or if any donation is out there. I am donating $25 a month until the brother is cleared of all charges and going home. But we're gonna listen to what Dr. Johnson. I don't always agree with Dr. Umar Johnson, but this one we have 10 toes down with what he's got to say. Let's play it.
I need somebody to explain to me why black people have to wait on justice to run its course when we get murdered by Caucasians. But when one of us is, when a Caucasian is unalived by one of us, it's okay for y'all to threaten us. It's okay for y'all to send death threats, racist language, racist mail, smear campaigns, slander, disrespect of every kind. Why is it okay for y'all to mistreat black people before justice has run its course in the courtroom? It's okay for y'all to do it, to mistreat us before we have had our day in court. But when y'all unalive one of us, we're supposed to wait until the court makes a decision. I know what this is about. This is about y'all thinking your lives are more valuable than ours. We know what it's about. Every African in America knows what this is about. You believe that your pale life is more important than my melanated life.
What's your thoughts?
I'm gonna say it like this, and I'm gonna give people some melanin is the most abundant substance in the universe, and that's scientifically proven. You can look it up. Melanin is the most valuable substance in this universe. It's the reason why we've always been so hated. But when I say it like this, that from especially after the new eyewitness testimony that came out today, when it comes to find out that him and his twin brother initiated the attack on Carmelo when they went into that tent and they jumped on that boy, and that boy went in his bag and stabbed that boy, that is no more than self-defense. Because if it was the shoe was on the other foot, it would be called self-defense. We wouldn't have to be.
I remember this guy named George Zimmerman, and when he did it over a bag of Skittles and a cup of tea, it was self-defense. So what changed?
Absolutely nothing. We all know. We deal, in case people, and I've said it on that show a couple of times, we all know that in the United States of America, we deal with two systems. We deal with the criminal justice system, but we also deal with the criminal legal system. The criminal justice system is what they deal with. The criminal legal system is what we deal with. In case you need some more context to what I mean, one is innocent until proven guilty. The other is guilty until proven innocent. And currently at this moment, Carmelo is under the criminal legal system, and they are classifying him as guilty until proven innocent. The one thing I want people to realize, though, is even once, because I have faith, and I'm going to say that man will be declared, so that man is going to be declared innocent by self-defense, because we all know they were the aggressors. When eyewitnesses come forth and say stuff like that, because now we don't have a whole bunch of circumstantial evidence, we have too much physical evidence coming out against them. The physical evidence is saying that it was self-defense. So when it comes out and that man is released, this is not going to be up. They're still going to classify him as murder. There's death threats will still continue. And guess what? The one thing that I hate the most is that even though he will be innocent, he will still need protection and covering, because there will still be death threats and all types of violence wanted against him, because that pale person decided to go do something that he knew he was going to get away with. That's the whole problem. He knew he would get away with.
Right.
He didn't think he was going to go in there and die that day.
That's right. Well, let's keep it going. Let's play this one here, and let's hear some news from this brother here. All right, y'all hold tight. Here we go.
A lot of people are confused why the black community is supporting Carmelo Anthony. Well, let me show y'all this clip from Malcolm X.
We don't teach you to turn the other cheek. We don't teach you to turn the other cheek in the South, and we don't teach you to turn the other cheek in the North. We teach you to obey the law. We teach you to carry yourselves in a respectable way. But at the same time, we teach you that anyone who puts his hand on you, do your best to see that he doesn't put it on anybody else.
Now, I will say this. I don't advocate for violence. However, we know there are states and places in sundown towns. So y'all don't want to talk about sundown towns, and I'm gonna tell you about that in a minute. There are places where white men can carry their guns outside with no problems. Okay. This young man didn't even have a knife, even though they said he had a knife. He had something that all athletes will have, which is something that will clean their cleats. And I'm going to be real with you. If you run up on me in an aggressive way and you put your hands on me, I'm going to respond. Now, how I respond, because I don't know what the context might be, but I'm going to respond. And I have different ways I can respond. I can use my hands. I can use whatever weapons on me, or I can get in my vehicle and use it as a weapon. But the thing of the matter is, in this country, it's okay for pale people to defend themselves. But when it comes to people of color, we're supposed to be submissive. See, them days are over. Those days are over. You're not going to put your hands on me, regardless of how you look, and think that you're going to be okay. You see, we supposed to stop and docile down and call 911. No. That ain't what George Zimmerman did. That ain't what happened to Emmett Till. That ain't what happened to Trayvon Martin. That ain't what happened to Breonna Taylor. And on top of that, you got people who are sworn officers out here participating in the foolishness. So miss me with the mess about, oh my God, this young boy is a killer and he had a knife. All that's hogwash. Let's be for real right now. All right. And let's talk about these sundown towns. There are still places, counties, cities in rural states in the South where if you're a person of color, you better be out of there before sundown or something might happen to you. So miss me with all the rhetoric if you on the other man's side. We hate that he lost his life, but y'all gonna keep her on an FA and FO, and it's gonna continue. So my thing is this. Some of y'all need to teach your kids before they walk out the house about who they playing with. Because everybody ain't gonna back down. Everybody ain't gonna be your little whatever you want to call it. Some people will butt back up on you, and when they butt back up on you, that's your problem because you taught your kids that was okay in their homes. So if you pale and you listen to me, hey, take it as you will, but start telling your children respect people and treat people the way you want to be treated.
And you are absolutely correct. And so let's clarify something that I forgot to mention earlier. During the course of that altercation, let's go into the altercation. During the course of the altercation, you got to think when you surrounded by, when you one-on, like if it had been, like they said, a one-on-one situation, I genuinely don't think that Carmelo would have pulled out the cleat sharpener, which is something that all athletes have on them, which is what the boy got stabbed by. Let's clear that up.
Right.
So had it been a one-on-one and he was doing he would do his big one, he might have took his L and went on by his day. But the fact that when you have two athletes, which you know they're strong because who knows what events they were competing in, especially if they're competing in shot put and that javelin throw, you got to have some strength to throw them shot to throw that. So when you got these two strong individuals, and Carmelo is actually not that big, which is why they chose to go into that 10 pick on him. He was outnumbered and he was in fight or flight mode. He could not flee, so he knew he had to fight. So he went in there and he grabbed he grabbed the first thing he could to get them from attack, keep him from attacking him. So they went in and asked, like I said, they went in and they asked for that. They got what that boy. I don't like to see nobody lose their life, but in the same aspect, you get what you asked for. You wanted that day, you went and wanted to be bitter. You been and thought you was the devil, and you went to meet the Lord that day.
That's it. And that's it. You mean to tell, and that's another part before we go to the next clip. That's the thing that got me in the fact that people fail to realize it wasn't just him, it was him and his brother. So if anybody should be locked up, it should be the brother. Y'all ain't had to say nothing to the boy. As a matter of fact, you and I both work in educational spaces. If there is a conflict, most of the time, in my experience, the student or the learner is going to go to the authority figure to seek a solution. But no, y'all saw this little black boy sitting here and y'all thought y'all was going to go bust up on and you fucked around, excuse my language, after around and found out. I'm not mad at the boy because I'm telling you right now, had it been me, I would have done the same thing. I'm going to tell you 1 or 2 times, it's going back up off me, bro. I'm going to tell you 1 or 2 times. That third time, hey, okay, that you want the smoke. As they say, you want the smoke, you get the smoke. And I ain't mad at them, but we're gonna play this next clip here. Let's see what they're talking about, because this is going to debunk some of the mess that I'm hearing, and people need to stop the line and get the facts.
So now an eyewitness has come out and spoken about what actually happened. He said he was there with his daughters, and they were under the exact same tent as Carmelo. He said, first of all, it wasn't on school property. So that could explain why the school couldn't provide video. It was a community track meet. And the kids bring something to clean their cleats. So that could explain why Carmelo had the knife. He said Carmelo was sitting there on his phone. Austin and his brother wasn't even under the tent. He said they came from a totally different tent. They walked up to Carmelo and started picking with him. He said words were said back and forth. Then they grabbed him and started punching him. He said they jumped him. They jumped Carmelo. Now, I don't know about y'all, but 2-on-1, ain't no rules. He said then Carmelo goes in his backpack, gets his knife, and you know the rest that happened. This would explain why Austin's dad is speaking the way he's speaking, because he knows his sons are at fault. It's a tragedy that a life was lost in this situation, but according to this eyewitness, it sounds like it was self-defense.
So there you go. And my thing with every, I hope y'all saw the clip. I hope the clip came through. My internet's acting weird, but what I want, if there's a black dude on TikTok, and sometimes I just want him to go jump in a pool of bleach, because some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth is just ignorant. If you're a black person in America and you don't see the problem with this, then you need to go play in traffic. I'm sorry.
You know, I am now the one thing I am super proud about America about, and I'm hoping, I'm pretty sure a lot of vast majority of Black Americans, that when this GoFundMe came up for this legal defense for this young man, that they people donated, because people seen the injustice of what was going on in the situation. Because it's hard not, I mean, when you look at, like, at first, I have to take everything with a grain of salt when I first hear it. I'm hearing this story, but y'all haven't released all the facts. I know there's a whole full-on investigation, but in the same aspect, I know how this country works. I knew that there was no possible way that this is the whole story. So you got to just sit back and let the facts unfold. Now that the facts are unfolding, you understand why they want to press so hard, and then they want to make it seem they put this $1 million bond. Y'all want you to know that was the craziest thing in the world. Y'all put a $1 million bond on a high school student.
Yeah.
For what reason? That's an insane amount of money. Y'all don't even give school shooters $1 million bond, but y'all want to give a high school student who defended himself $1 million.
Watch this. How much was George Zimmerman's bond? Better yet, how much was Donald Trump's bond? Oh, okay, y'all. Oh, okay. Miss me with it.
I'd be crazy. I'd be like, crazy. This is crazy. I was like, man. But I am glad that the eyewitness came forward, because the eyewitness, that eyewitness testimony is going to dilute that. That's why the daddy went in that press conference. It was either yesterday or today, in regards to try and like diffuse, like break up and like issue like I'm big man, this, that, and third. My son, why is you trying to intimidate people who can't be intimidated no more?
That's it. That's it.
We are not our ancestors.
That's it.
We will not idly sit by and allow you to sit here and treat us any kind of way. The problem, and I tell people this time, with our ancestors, we had a lack of knowledge. We are in the 21st century now. We have so much information that is in literally phones. Information in the palm of your hand at any point in time. All you got to do is look something up. Libraries, books. There's no reason for people to not know stuff anymore. Even though some of y'all don't. You still act ignorant. But it's crazy work in this day and age. But I'm gonna say it like this: we're gonna go back to the time back in 2020 during the BLM protests, when they got out of hand and got side pocketed. And this is the current example of what happened. I remember I watched a TikTok video, and y'all know I love TikTok. TikTok is very information. You can get a lot of quick information. Somebody made a point. and they stated that the younger ones of this, the male versions, the reason why they went out and voted was because they wanted it to go back to when the first term, when they were allowed to do crazy things and say crazy things, and they could not get in trouble for it. And that's why that's why the young man was in the situation that he was in. I guarantee you, had this been last year this time, they wouldn't even thought about going around there because they already knew what was happening. But because we are in the current climate that we are in, they felt that they felt that they could do it. They felt like they knew nothing was going to happen. But look at we are. I am standing here today, and I hope that they charge the other twin. Lock him up and send him up on down the road. Even though we know he gonna get a slap on the wrist for what happened, but I still hope that actually I take that back. Felony murder. Everybody, if you don't know what felony murder is when you get called charged with murder, even though you weren't the one who actually committed the murder, but because you were involved in a crime that involved where murder happened, you get charged with the murder. So I genuinely hope that whoever the prosecutor is, I hope they'll do their big one and charge that young man with felony murder. Because examples need to be set, especially in the days and times that we live in.
Well, I agree with you. I think what's so sad about it is all y'all had to do was sit down, eat your little hot dog, and watch the track meet. That's all you had to do. But you and your brother thought it was okay to go pick on this young man who wasn't even bothering you and told you several times, leave me alone, and then y'all jumped the brother. And then you want to act all brand new like nothing happened. So at the end of the day, not only should he get charged with murder, but he should get charged with assault. And that's just the bottom line. And the problem is because you're in Texas and y'all think y'all running something with Hot Wheels, y'all think y'all got that. Jasmine Crockett was right. You want to play with Hot Wheels? Hey, y'all go ahead and fall up behind them. You want to sit up there and think y'all playing with the Mississippi games? Keep on playing and find out. Okay? Don't let Pam Bondi get y'all head bust up around here. Because hey, let me tell you something. Y'all think this is like Rodney. You know what? They think this is back with Rodney. I want y'all, you know what? This ain't the Rodney King riots no more. So I can't wait till the trial. I hope it's a 3 million man march on that mofo when that trial comes out.
It's a high profile. The thing about it is a very high profile trial. So we automatically know it's probably going to be broadcast. It's going to be broadcast because people are paying attention to what's going on. That's the first thing we have to realize. But I'm gonna have to talk about Pam Bondi because she is aging like cheese left out in the sun right now. That skin is sinking, and soon she don't get a facelift, baby. She ain't gonna survive.
Lord,
87 days. She done aged 10 years.
Lord, I want to play this. Not the whole thing, but what he says is very important. I think it's something we want to note before we move to our local topic.
I want to start off this press conference to say something as a deep note that I can tell America. What we seen at the beginning of this press conference, the father being at this press conference, these are my words. Don't quote anybody. Is a disrespect to the dignity of his son. Next Generation Action Network from the beginning has respected the loss of life. No matter our opinion of it, we have kept our opinion close. We have not attacked. We have not shared the information that was shared with us about Austin Metcalf because we respect the dignity of life and loss. And as a minister, I would not attack a grieving family, even if I disagree with them. When I have stood before this podium for people who have died at the hands of law enforcement, I have asked for that same manner of respect. And even when the shoe is on the other foot, I will not do that. And all I'm going to say, so it don't be asked later, is that was disrespectful and just shows you all the character who is not invited, he knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family, but he did it. And so I say to people, actions speak louder than words.
Actions speak louder than words. We're going to go to a break, and we're going to come back with our final topic, which will be something where we're talking about a local issue. Y'all hold tight.
Savannah, are you looking for some of the best Southern soul food? Then check out Kim's Cafe at 714 MLK Boulevard. The food is so good, you'll think that your mother cooked it. Located in the heart of Savannah, Kim's has a menu that includes breakfast anytime, lunch when you need it, and dinner so you won't have to cook when you get home. They also cater all types of events and can host your reserved event at the restaurant. Come see what everyone has been raving about. Great food, great atmosphere, and a great time. Kim's Cafe, 714 MLK Boulevard in beautiful downtown Savannah.
Oh, I mean my friend, your Savannah homeboy, Clarence Thomas, made sure that I don't go to prison.
So Julius is in there talking to Trump. Oh, I'm telling.
Hello, world. We're here, serving Savannah, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Brooklyn, Houston, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and the world. The best music all the time. The greatest songs ever made, every time. Tune in to Hot 2100 Savannah and get a taste for your ears. Hot 2100 Savannah, serving Savannah and the world.
All right, make sure you're tuning in to Hot 2100 Savannah. You download your app wherever your app store is, and you look for Hot 2100 Savannah. And if you tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock, you can hear me. I'm R3. You can hear DJ Lee on the Chill Time on the Drive Home show. All right, so make sure you download that app. So we're going to shift really quick, Carlton. We want to talk about local politics, and we know here in Savannah there's a pandemic, and that pandemic is, even though we have a city council that's majority black, we also have only 2 black people on it that knows they're black. And that, well, I'll say three. I like Carol. We got Carol Bell.
Try one of them got a bad wig.
I'm going there. We got Carol Bell. We got Bryant Lanier, and Alicia Miller Blakely. I give them that credit because they do advocate when they advocate. The other ones, hey, they're in the pockets of these developers, these big wigs, these big time money folk, and that's your business. That's your business. I will be honest with you. And when I run again, and I will, if somebody gonna donate money, fine, bring it my way. Just know this: I will not do favors for money. I'm going to do the will of the people. So I'm not going to say it's bad to take their money. What is bad is when you collect, several kickbacks, and you are downgrading your community. And I'm going to make this statement, and some people are going to get mad, but let me say this before I say it. I separate the person from the policy. And so when I speak on this mayor, I'm talking about policy. But some people can't, they're not mature to understand that. When you have served 16 years as a district alderman, and that area that you served stood still in time, meaning it was not changed from 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 16th year. You at the head of the ship and still ain't getting no resources. I don't know what to say, but let me start here. I want to play this clip, and this young man is talking about West Broad Street. Okay, West Broad Street, but before it became the Martin Luther King Boulevard, was the hub of black business. They put that overfly over there, and they killed all of that. And so now black businesses that are existing are struggling to compete because they don't have the same seat at the table we talked about earlier. But let me play this clip real quick, and then we'll hop on that topic.
Good morning. Good morning. So today I wanted to talk about the history in Savannah, Georgia. Right now, if you're from Savannah, Georgia, you may have been to Martin Luther King Boulevard. But did you know that Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard used to be West Broad Street, which is one of the big black business districts in Savannah, Georgia? It started after the Civil War when a lot of blacks came into the town. It was called Frog Town back then because of the frogs. They started building businesses. They had movie theaters. They had pharmacies. There were funeral homes, banks. The Wage Earners Bank was there. They had the Pekin Theater, the Star Theater, the Dunbar Theater. They had a big pharmacy called the Savannah Pharmacy, which was around till about 2014. One of the only black-owned pharmacies in Savannah, Georgia. There's a lot of history in Savannah, Georgia, and you should check it out. All right, the rest is history.
So we know that policy drives outcomes. And when you have policy people, legislators, sitting on city councils, county commissions, and years on years and years, they talk a good game in front of folk, but behind the scenes, I won't even use the word selling out, but they don't advocate the way I would advocate. Okay? And I'm going to give you a great example of that. For years, we talked about this fairgrounds that sits in the middle of a historic black community. They want to put a development there that, in my opinion, is not any advantage, not helping the black community. You put more residences there. 5 years from now, you turn them into market rate apartments. That is the seed for regentrification. Not only that, we allow SCAD to encroach upon historically black communities. So you go back to what we talked about earlier, and we talked about flooding. Why build? Why use the FEMA money that we had to correct the flooding problem? Because we just want to flood these black neighborhoods out, so that, guess what, we can get them out the way, put them on the outskirts of the city like we saw in Charleston, and redesign the city. When you got policymakers that look like us downtown, and you only got 3 on the battlefield, we in some trouble. Let's not even talk about the alcohol overlay bullshit, but we in some trouble.
Buy low, sell high. In all actuality, if you the fairground, which is mentioned, most people, if you don't know where it's at, it's on Medding Street, which was it's about maybe a mile off of Doreen. It's a mile off Doreen right before you get to 5-6, right before you get to 516. They don't do the fair there anymore because they moved the fair further out, but it still is a fairground, still run down, still abandoned. But in the same aspect, you got to look at the fact that they just don't put the funding like they should into the neighborhood to develop it. The one thing, and then a lot of times what it comes is people sell grandma and granddaddy paid for the house. They built their house and they intended for it to stay in the family, but the family, as soon as the grandma and granddaddy, before they even even got cold and stiff, they talking about selling it, or they arguing who get the house. So a lot of times what it comes to is they wind up selling the house because it's less to deal with. But when you come to our city officials, they just don't take care of the neighborhoods like they should, because that neighborhood needs a whole lot of improvement that should be the money that it should be going into that neighborhood to build it up, to keep it where it should, because it is basically a historically black community. They don't. I drive, I'm saying, I deal with the kids from over there.
Right.
That's it. Everybody know I drive school bus. Don't get me wrong, them children drive me bonkers. I be wanting to cuss on a daily basis, but I have to remember I actually like my job. But
right.
And I realize is that the education and the stuff that was instilled into us is not being instilled into them, because the one thing that their parents felt, the one thing about their parents is they have such resentment for the elders, because we don't have any true elders anymore. Not like we used to. And then also the elders that we do have, y'all taught your children not to respect them, because these children talk reckless to anybody who they feel like disrespect them. You disrespect them, they're gonna do it. But it's a community. I'm gonna say it's not all necessarily on city council. It is a community issue at hand, because the community does not stand with each other. The community won't stand with each other because they're crabs in the barrel. They don't want to see one person do better than the other. And also, a lot of times when we get people who are successful that come from here, guess what they do? They move from the area and they move to the suburbs. They don't want their kids to grow up over there because they know what's going on over there. They move to the suburbs, and then they forget about the area where they come from. They only come back to visit their friends and people. They come back to visit their friends and family who still live in the area, but guess what? They're not going to stay over there that long.
Well, I do agree with you. I told somebody this other day, you can't buy something that's not for sale. So that is an issue there. But in my opinion, I think people, like you said, if I don't see the value in the neighborhood, if I don't see the value in the property, if I don't understand, that real estate gains value, whereas going to buy cars and rims loses value, then I don't understand the value of a dollar. And I think that is a major problem. However, we have churches, we have neighborhood associations, we have other organizations that should be out front providing some kind of educational value around that. And I get that. I'm not putting on the back of them and saying that's their job. But I'll even go further to say that somehow, some way, there's got to be a round table, right? One of the things I'm working on now is the committee with the Hungry Club Forum of Savannah. Those are the type of forums where we got to keep having and making them visible, so we can tell people that don't understand the value of money what you have as an investment. You could go out here and buy the nicest car, but time you drive up the lot, that's $3,000 of your money gone. Whereas you keep mom and daddy property, you can gain, even if you rent it, you can gain $100,000 in a year if you know what you're doing. But it's like, we've got to understand the value of what our people have developed, created, when there was nowhere else for them to go. You heard them talk about Frogtown. A lot of people don't understand the value of Frogtown, 10 City, and what that meant to the Black community, because we couldn't go to Ardsley Park and Georgetown and all these nice places. Hell, your dang on sure wasn't going to Bryan County.
Couldn't cross the railroad track.
Yeah. So we got to start. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I want the police department to start offering incentives with the city to get our people in our neighborhoods policing our people. It irked me that one night, I was riding with Chris and we getting pulled over for absolutely nothing. They just thought they just felt like pulling us over. Couldn't give me a reason. Next thing I know, there were 7 officers surrounding us in the gas station right around the corner. Searched the car, found absolutely nothing. But and the way I'm built, I talk back. And Chris had to say, you need to chill out, because you're not going to just pull me over. About 8 white cops, not one that looked like me, but I stay in a predominantly Black neighborhood. That's the thing that's got to stop too. I'm not saying white officers are bad, but I am saying that they're not culturally competent enough sometimes. Okay?
You saying overly competent white officers.
Culturally competent.
Culturally competent officers, but this is the one thing that you got to realize. You can go back 150 years, 165 years to post-slavery, back to slavery time. And it is known and documented that post-slaves will tell you that there was nothing worse on the plantation than the Black slaver.
Well, I agree, because some of them don't get it. Some of them are used as pawns, and that's a problem too. But let me get one more thing, because I saw this on Facebook today, where we were talking about Black businesses. I think it may have been on Rashida's page, Facebook page, and somebody made a comment about Black businesses and how they're not consistent, they run down. Well, we can create an incentive program through the city where we identify resources. You mean to tell me SCAD gets away with paying no taxes? Let's build a partnership with them. Let's use some of these classes and go in and redevelop and make our businesses look good. But see, my thing is there's got to be some kind of incentive to start building a foundation, because right now what we have is what you said, and that's a bunch of crabs in the barrel and people that don't want to understand value. But I think we can rally around that and find an incentive to reverse that trend some kind of way.
Very much. But SCAD is allowed to do that because they were also allowed, let's not forget somebody who informs, I can't remember who it was, and I want to say it was Bernard Howe. SCAD was allowed to violate a code in Savannah when they built their skyscraper that blocks the view of the bridge.
Yeah. So,
but in all actuality, if we were, and you're right, if we were to find a non-profit, or we were to find some way to incentivize the rebuilding of the Black community, who is to say that at this point in time we won't wind up with another Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Rosewood?
That's it. All right, I'm gonna play this. This will be our closing for the night, and then we'll see y'all back next week on the Watch Dawgz. All right, we're gonna close with this.
You need to know how many people are amazed and agitated and annoyed because you are comfortable in your authentic self. This ain't for everybody. A lot of people cannot understand that you are naturally gifted, that you were born creative, that you are innately compassionate, that you are genuinely sincere, that you are genetically beautiful, that you are effortlessly brilliant, that you are astonishingly affable, that you are magnetically charismatic, that you are modestly fashionable, and because you do it with no effort, they can't stand you. They want to see you dead, and they don't even understand. I don't even work on being this way. This is just who I am, and they want you to die for being yourself. They want you dead for being authentic. You are so genuine, you are offensive to people that have become normalized by the fake. They don't understand. I compliment you and I don't want nothing from you. I am kind to you and I'm not trying to sleep with you.
Like this.